Hello, welcome everybody. You're all very welcome to the Bridged Researchers today. My name is Fabiana Cerato. I am an architect, an entrepreneur, a self-researcher, and a conscienciologist. Today I am here representing ISAC, which is the Interassistential Service for the Internationalization of Conscienciology, which is a non-profit organization. ISAC has the status of a pre-consensus-centric institution, and ISAC is the institution who coordinates the Bridged Researchers, which is the project that we are presenting today. This project has been created to bring together conscienciology researchers from all over the world in order to facilitate knowledge, exchange, and sharing of interassistential experience. ISAC and the Bridged Researchers aim place together researchers from many different parts. And today we have a very nice presentation and we are going to have a very nice lecture. So with us today we have Deborah Leite.
Hello, Deborah. Hello, Fabiana.
Hello, Deborah. Feel very welcome today. Deborah Leite is a PhD in microbiology, a volunteer, a teacher, and a researcher of ACE-INVEXes. She is one of the coordinators of the laboratory sector, where the Serenarium Laboratory is located. She is also the author of a few articles and entries of the Encyclopedia of Conscienciology. So it's great to have you here to talk about such an important matter, which is the Serenarium Laboratory. So Deborah, the word belongs to you. You can talk whenever you feel, and you can start whenever you think it's appropriate. Just ask me to place the slides.
Okay, Fabiana, I also would like to thank you and Isaac to this invitation. So to share about a little bit of my experience in this almost 5 years that I'm a volunteer and also a researcher in Serenarium Laboratory in Iguassu. And so I hope you guys that will stay with us in this talk, in this conversation here in YouTube, you can enjoy our conversation and also contribute with questions, reflections, and so. And if you don't mind, maybe we can start the presentation and share the slides, please.
Yes.
That's okay. So guys, let's talk about a little bit Serenarium Laboratory, this lab that's located in Foz do Iguassu. And before we start, I would like to introduce and present to you the institution, the consensus-centric institution that the laboratory Serenarium is located. This is INVEX. INVEX stands for International Association of Existential Inversion. That's an institution dedicated to research, the development, and also the disclosure of existential inversion technique. So, also known as INVEXes. So we are also a consensus-centric institute as well. So about the INVEX technique, it's an evolutionary technique initiated yet in youth, focused on the maximal optimization of human life, aiming the interassistence and also the completion of existential program. So when we talk about extension program, we are talking about a set of goals defined before the birth, selected to better promote our self-evolution. So, Fabiana, if you don't mind, maybe you can help me with the slides. It's okay? Okay, thank you. And so, here we can see some pictures in the INVEX, our spaces, onde you do a lot of parapedagogical activities, some courses, some forums, symposiums, and congresses about the INVEXology topic, okay? And here we have our studio to do not only the presential, because we don't, sorry, because here in Asinvex, the course that we made and the parapedagogical activities that we provide here is not the presential ones events. Also, we provide some events like transmitted by YouTube and Instagram as well. And here we can see our studio here. So with Professor Pedro, another volunteer in the institution, as me. And also we have, and here, in this slide here. And also we have some people that are volunteer in the Asinvexes in different kinds of events that we have here, some courses, some congresses that we promote in hybrid way. So this not only in presential event, but only transmitted in the internet. And so we can see about we can see some ones of these events here. So, and it's important to introduce, before we start to talk about the Serenarium, talk about the consciential paradigm. So, as you can see, this technique, the extension inversion technique, it's included inside this consciential paradigm. So, the Invexology or the Invexes is a technique, and the research that we do here in Asinvex is based on this different paradigm, is in this different way to see life, if I can say in this way. So about this paradigm, the consciential paradigm, we are not this human body only, made of flesh and limited by the human brain. We are indeed a consciousness that operates this body. So then we can manifest ourselves in this dimension. It's because of that you can mention when this body dies, the conscious remains alive and can be born again in a new body. So we consider that we live in multiple dimensions and can have many lives as well. This is a kind of pillars of the consciential paradigm, okay? So you have the multiple lives, we call that seriality, and also we can manifest in different dimensions, and this pillar we called multiple dimensionality. So, and also we mentioned that we have only two realities in this universe: the conscious, this intelligent principle, and also the energy. So once the energy can be manipulated by the consciousness, the only way that you have to build science in this researching, is by researching ourselves and getting to know how we shape these energies around us. And so, because that is a really important topic and a really important pillar of the consciential paradigm, the consciential laboratory, the personal consciential laboratory. And this brings to us another important topic and an important reflection, that if it's an inevitable way to construct science, to construct the consciential science, investigate ourselves, we have to construct some structures to do this more professionally, if I can say in this way. So another important base to us.
Deborah, just for me to understand, you talked about 5 important pillars of conscientiology research, and you talk about the 5th one, which is the consciential laboratory. This consciential laboratory, you explain, is first us researching ourselves, right?
Yeah.
And then the structures.
Yeah.
Both. Okay.
That is the point, because the whole science is based in our investigation ourselves. So it's a time, it's the propose that we look at each other like the research object, and also do the research about ourselves. And so, if it's a pillar of the paradigm, the consensual paradigm, it's important that we build some structures to perform or to do this. And so, to we make contact with our consensual laboratories, it's important that we can have these spaces to apply techniques, to do our self experiments, to bring some self experimentations information about us. I don't know if now we are more. I made myself clear. Sorry.
Yes, thank you.
And I think this is important to think about, because as I said before, in the consensual centrics, as a Synvex or as another consensual centric institutions, we do a lot of parapedagogical activities. But also, these places can have sometimes our other structures to promote this self-experimentation. And this structure as the consensual laboratories. And that's it's the really important topic here. And so, in all of activities that we hear here in conscientiology, we also made the invitation to people experiment the principle of disbelief. What is that? It's a kind of invitation to use your self-discernment, your self-criticism. So do not believe anything, even things or informations that I mentioned, that I inform here, that I said to you. Experiment, have your own experiences, okay? And so let's keep it in mind in this all of this presentation that you have here, okay? So now we're really going to talk about Serenarium. So this is notably the most relevant lab in conscientiology. It's the also the laboratory that you have experiments in 3 days. So it's a 3 days labs. It's the unique in the universe that have this kind of immersion and long-term experience. So in this presentation, I really intend to share with you guys a bit of my experience as a volunteer in this laboratory during the last 5 years, and also some experience that I have as research in this lab as well. So I could experiment the Serenarium as a researcher 2 times, and I hope I can do this more times too. So let's also maybe located you where we are now. So we are here in Brazil, in the city of Foz do Iguassu, the city located in Paraná State, and in the neighborhood that we call Knowledge-Man neighborhood. So here we had a lot of consensus-centric institutions, and also the pre-consensus-centric institutors as Isaac, as Synvex, and other ones. So, and here I can show to you the infectiology campus. So we are also in construction. So we have a lot of buildings or constructions here in the infectiology campus. Sorry, but we also are constructing more and more structures to provide a good places to people research and disclosure the infectiology as a science. So here in this number 1 here is the entrance that you can see in this scheme here, and also in the Google Maps. We also have event hall, the place that you show in the beginning of the presentation, that we have the parapedagogical courses and events. So we also have here 2 laboratories that I show you some pictures of them. One of them is the Serenarium, the main topic of this presentation. And about the laboratory Serenarium, we not only have the laboratory Serenarium to provide the experience of this lab, we also have the Serenarium Support Center that I also showed to you, that in this place the researcher can start your experiment 2 days and 2 days before the really 3 days immersion in this laboratory. So here in the number 3, we can see the Serenarium Support Center, and in a way here in the walls, so we can see the Serenarium as well. And so we also have people that live in this Conscienciology campus. So we have 3 residences today, and we can have some volunteers and researchers of SINVEXs living in this environment, so in this campus. We also have head office near to the big structure here, another laboratory, the Life Technique Boulevard Laboratory, and the head office, it's here, is the place that we develop other activities in our volunteer routine. So this huge laboratory here is the Life Technique Boulevard Laboratory. As I mentioned, it's a really big lab. It's an open air lab that simulates a human body life. I will show you some pictures about those structures that you can feel a little more about the energy and make contact with this place. So this is the Serenarium at SINVEX. As you can see, it's a really beautiful place, and you can see a lot of trees, a lot of plants and flowers, and also birds around this place. It's a really calm and quiet place. Really, really interesting and really important to do your reflections during this experiment. So I bring here also a reflection of Professor Valdo Vieira. And in this reflection, they mentioned that the Conscienciological Laboratory must always be a place of antidispersity, multidimensional connectivity, and also energetic remake and continuous evolutionary research. And so I bring this reflection here to make a think a little bit of the importance, that we can have this kind of places, this kind of laboratories to do our self-experimentations, maybe free a little bit of noise, not only the noise, the external noise, but also like the intraconsciencial noise, and it can be a little bit more quiet, and when you can like make contact with our intraconscienciality and do really deep reflections, our evolutionary contexts, or our evolutionary moment as well. So this, I think this environments, the laboratory environments, is a really big opportunity that we can make our self-experimentations without any other person or consent to intermediate our energetic experiences. So you can have our experiences for our own. So this is maybe the very first moment in our whole history that you can do this. So I think this is a really big and serious opportunity. So I also bring here the definition, the formal definition of this laboratory that you can check in the entry in Serenarium, in the Conscienciology Encyclopedia. So, the Laboratory Serenarium is the conscienciological laboratory constituted by an intraphysical-based conductivity to establishment of an interdimensional connection destined for the immersion and self-concentration of the experimenting conscient for 72 consecutive hours. So 3 days. Yeah, we are talking about a 3 days lab in conditions of total volunteer isolation. So it's the conscient who decide to put ourselves in this situation. Directed towards or self-research, capture of self-evolutionary nerve pawns that optimize successful self-confrontations, hissings, and extension recyclings, resets, planned from the personal heuristic based on facts and perfects. So this is a really radical lab, right? And so it's really interesting because Professor Valdo bring this idea of this lab and this opportunity that we can see ourselves like really a consciousness during this deep moments, the reflections that we can make in this lab, really serious and important self-confrontations, self-criticisms that this laboratory can promote in ourselves. So another lab that I want to present to you, to introduce to you, is the Life Technique Boulevard Laboratory. Here we can see the whole project of this laboratory. It's not finished yet. This lab. In this side we can see the real picture about this real moment about the lab. But how I can see. So. However, this lab is not complete yet. We are open also to do the experiments because we can see that some physical structures is not finished, but we can see that the minimal things that we need to perform or to conduct the experiment, it's working. And so since the last year, we start the activities in this really peculiar and particular laboratory. You can ask something, Fabiana?
Yes. I have a question about the laboratory, this one you just mentioned, the Life Technique Boulevard Laboratory. Is this laboratory located also in the ACINVAX's campus? They are all in the same campus?
Yeah, it's located in the same campus. Here we can see the structure that you can see on Google Earth. So this is the big structure of this laboratory. As I mentioned, it's not finished yet, the project, but we already start the activities, the experimental activities in this lab in the last year, and in the self-experiment way. So how can I explain that? So we can perform the experiment during 2.5 hours and consisting to make a kind of walk in this lab for yourself and do some reflections about. We have some monitors that you can help in the very first moment in the lab and explain how the lab works and conduct to you to this point here that the reborn plaza here, and so the reborn square, sorry, and in this place you can start your experiment, and then we go through your own life, and it's common to people mention that bring some memories And also about this memory, you can see this memory in a different way that you see or that you experiment in the moment that thing happened to you. I don't know if I'm making it clear, but we can make some perspectivation of your own life. You have a chance to look the facts and perfects that occur in the past in a different way, in a pro-evolutive way, sometimes in see some things that in that time we didn't see, because you are doing that in a really optimized environment that it's lab. And so you also have an opportunity in this lab to make contact not only with the moments that pass in your life, but like the future moments, the things that we are coming. So it's another possibility in this lab, because you walking through your whole life, consider a period of 0 to 100. So, and you are in this walking, make contact with your past, with your future, with the interactions that we made in this time with another conscience as well. And so it's a really, really particular laboratory. I really recommend that people that are here around in Foz do Iguaçu and come visit us and are interested to know the Invexology campus, to know the labs, the Life Technique Boulevard Laboratory, and also Serenarium Laboratory is really welcome to show the structures in Rio. So, great. Let's continue. So here we have a video just to maybe to feel a little bit of the energies in this environment of the Life Technique Boulevard Laboratory in a storming day. So Fabiana, if you can help me to put this video. Great. So you can see in this laboratory some structures that that you have the age. So there's big structures here that have the age 0, 10, 20. So we can simulate the decades. That's the intent of these big structures that we see. So let's go just to bring here also the formal definition of this lab. The Life Technique Boulevard Laboratory is the conscienciological laboratory planned for carrying out self-research in an open air located on the Invexology campus as a simulacrum environment of intraphysical existence, aiming to provoke deep reflection about the finitude of life, the constant need of existential balances, and of macroexological planning, characteristic of the Vex technique. And so that's maybe a question that people can asking, why have a lab like this in Vexology campus? So this is interesting because when thinking about a person that applies the existential inversion, we are talking about a person that plans your acts, your program, existential program, and this implies in a life with a minimal deviations of routes. So it's because and this is the why that we think in this lab in the Invexology campus, because we simulate intraphysical existence in the line, as you can see in this image. And so let's go talk more about the Serenarium Laboratory, because this is the main topic our talking today. I would like to bring here a little bit of the history of Serenarium since in the beginning. The beginning of the history of Serenarium does not start in the vexillology campus. The conception of this laboratory, and that was described at time as radical laboratory of heuristica, was experienced by Professor Valdo during a visit to the land now belong to Aracê, is another consensus-centric institution. Stands up International Association for the Evolution of Consciousness, and this consensus-centric institution is located in another state in Brazil, in Espírito Santo. So the inspiration to this lab conception was supported by a concept nicknamed by Professor Valdo as Eliots, and in this during a pangraph phenomenon, in this phenomenon that Professor Valdo can capturate some ideas. In fact, 17 items about this laboratory, and here I bring to you just to make contact with the handmade transcription. We can see this copy of this handmade transcription made by Professor Valdo. I just bring some ones of these items when the Serenarium idea was bringing to us. And so the first of them is about the shape of the slab, to be round, curved, simple, without sounds, and that promotes self-awareness DOMs as well. And so we can see that we are talking about a really simple structure to the research can really go deep in your reflections during this period. So he also mentioned in this pangraph phenomenon about the have water to research to take a bath, to clean the dishes, and so some stuff like that. Also simple, and that you have some natural food, a special diet, not a heavy diet, to the person, to the research just can feed, and that's all. So it's also a communal space and peaceful place as well. Promote this interiorization and also with this confinement. Why this confinement? Because the researcher go to this lab just himself or herself in this context. And so as I said, it's voluntary immersion. This lab also promotes a progressive muscular relation, promote this self-immersion, introspection, and subjective. So the idea of the physical space or the structure of this lab is to the research can forget about the intraphysical life and focus in his or her consciousness is the main purpose of this lab. And so also lead each relative through neophilia, original ideas, neologistics, discover, resyn, invention, recycling, innovation, new hypotheses about your evolution, or also new theories. And so it's a really good lab to promote different ways to think, to reflect about our evolutionary moment. And another topic that the Professor Valdo can capture in this pangraphy that we really, how I can say, really interesting me and integrated me when I read is this one, the 10th. Would you like to contribute to ask something, Fabiana?
Yes, it's a very important and nice structure you are presenting and bringing us. It's amazing to think that one structure so important is have been built for self-research. And I have a question related to that here. The question is, hello, Deborah, you mentioned that Serenarium is the most advanced laboratory. Why is that?
Oh, this is a really great question. I will just do a kind of resume here to ask to answer this question, because I think the whole presentation was thinking about to respond this question, because we can see in this lab a lot of particularities, peculiarities that made this lab really unique. But I think just to resume that is because this place was really big to we can really go deep in our reflections and make contact with the conscience that we are. So the whole intrinsic structure was designed that pull a little bit down the noise, sounds, all the things that we are mobilized during in our interphysical lives, and we can really focus in our consciousness, where we can really focus our para procedure as well. So as I also said in this lab, you do this experiment just you and yourself in a period of 3 days immersion. And to do this 3 days immersion, we also had a lot of activities and experiments before to prepare you to this moment, and also some activities later this 3 days immersion. So it's a really complex laboratory, and this laboratory allowed us to make a really deep contact with we are, and also with our and where we are included or located in our maxis praxis as a group as well. This is a kind of paradox to the when you mention Serenarium, because it's a laboratory that just one person do, but I will bring some things in this way during the presentation. But the how can I say, the effect is not just in this unique person that do the lab, but also in the group, the intraphysical group closer, but also in the extraphysical groups. And so, oh great, I thank you, Patricia. And so I will talk more about this importance, and I will mention more details about, because this laboratory is really an most important laboratory in conscienciology.
We have another question, but I will wait 5 minutes it's also related with what you were going to explain.
Okay. I just finished this slide here about the lab conception, and maybe you can bring the another question. It's okay. So the last topic that I would like to mention is the 10th, and when Professor Valdo mentioned that this lab can put two ends together, the planto chakras and the corona chakra, and the soma and the holosoma, the cerebellum and the brain, the psychomotricity and the mental somatics, the worker and the intellectual within the same conscient. So when I read this, the very first time, it was really a kind of shocked me, because it is the kind of experience that really have in the Serenarium. Not only as a researcher doing your experiment, but also in my experience in the condition of a volunteer in this lab as well, because we can enter in contact with things about basic things in your intraphysical life, like eating, like sleep, like take a bath, like write something. We enter in contact with those kinds of stuff, but in the same time that you are really enter in contact with your interphysical body, we also make more and more contact with your consciousness, your extra physical consciousness. And you are still living your intraphysical life in this 3 days of immersion, but we can have really deep and existential reflections about your manifestation as well. So for me, these two things that are really different or make me think that are really paradoxical. Yeah, this can happen and occurs in the same time during the laboratory. So you can think more about the impact of your habits, your alimentation, about the impact of the physical exercises in your whole holosom, for example, your energetic health as well, and the impact that in your extraphysical routines, in your projections. And so we can thinking you in a whole way. So this is a really deep experience that Serenarium can promote. Fabiana, you mentioned that you have a question in this.
Yes, it's related with what you just mentioned. No, it's interesting. Another interesting question from Cicero. Hello, Deborah. Why do you think Valdo demanded the Serenarium construction as the first thing ever constructed in the Inversology campus?
Oh, question is really good and are related just with this slide here. So, as occurred in the Aracê campus, Professor Valdo bring this challenge to us to construct the Serenarium here in campus, in Vexology campus. And the implementation of this lab took place together with the construction of the Serenarium Laboratory. So the campus was implemented by the initial constructor of this laboratory. To me, this is really, really interesting because it's a kind of position. How can I say that? Is a kind of, let me see, how can I explain it? Because when Professor Vald brings this challenge to us and also to Aracê to start the campus with a lab, not with a place to do like pedagogical events or course, that make me think, why not a place that people can start to learn about vexology, inversion existence, or courses about the matter holtosing of Aracê, for example. Why a laboratory and why the Serenarium? And this is a topic that really interesting to me, and the hypothesis that I have. First, a laboratory, I invite to you do your self-experimentation, to experiment conscienciology for your own, without any intermediates. So this is a really important point, I think, that we can highlight here, because this is conscienciology in the practical. And when you construct a lab in a campus, we have also to construct a lot of other structures, buildings, to give a support to this lab as well. And that was happened with Aracê in that time, and also it was happening with Asimbetes. I will bring here a little bit of the history, but we will see that the proposed to construct a Serenarium come first to the establishment of the campus. So the idea of the Serenarium was came first. The Simvex as a conscienciocentric institute already existed, so but the campus not yet. And I think the constructor of this laboratory in the Serenarium can also act as a lever to initial implementation of an Exology campus. And this idea of start a campus, construct a laboratory. Now it's a kind of thing that we already know that it's kind of how can I say that? It's a good practice. Why I mention that? Because in Natal as well, to establish the campus in Natal, in a city in the northeast of Brazil, in Intercamp campus, the group also suggests to the volunteers in the Intercamp to construct a Serenarium in there as well. So because this successful case that we see in Aracê and also in Vexology campus. And so it's a really huge step to start a constructor a campus around a really complex and unique laboratory as Serenarium. And this lab also demands a huge logistic to work that I will mention in other slides also. So I also bring some history. I also think it will make clear a little bit more the question that Cicero said. And so when the first half of 2008, Professor Valdo requested the construction of this lab in the Vexology campus. And a few months later, the Vexology campus was opened. So, as I said, the idea to construct the Serenarium became first in this request of Professor Valdo. And the start of work to construct this lab occurred in 2011. And the moving of Asimvex, the head office to campus in 2012. So as you can see, the structuration of Serenarium starts before the head office of Asimvex came to the campus. So after that, the idea, the conception of the Life Technique Boulevard Laboratory occurred in 2013, and the inauguration of Serenarium Lab occurred in the same year. I bring these dates here that we can see the implementation of labs in in the Invaxology campus, we can see a lot of how can I say that? We can see that the history of the implementation of Serenarium and the Life Technique Boulevard Laboratory goes together in certainly way. So the inauguration of the construction of the Life Technique Boulevard occurred in the end of the same year, and also in the end of the same year, the first official experience of Serenarium occurred as well. And so that's just curiosities about these two labs. And the important thing that I have to mention here, that to construct this lab, we have the support in the help of the international community here, doing this extension in conscientiology and projectology course, and all of the funds acquired in this course was reverted to construct the Serenarium. And here we have an image of this course that occurred in 2013. Here we have a photo in the same year, 2013. I think this is a really important year to Invaxology campus. A lot of things are occurring in this period. So the opening of Serenarium, the Life Technique Boulevard conception and idea, so was happening in the same year as well. And here we have a photography with the Professor Osvaldo visiting one day before the opening this lab in June. So after that, we also construct the dynamic halls when you do our parapsychic dynamics, parapsychic dynamics applied to Invaxology. After that, and we also construct and opening a new administrative building, just to bring the idea that I thought that is related to Cicero's question about the structure, the construction of the others structures in the Invaxology campus. So after the Serenarium and also the start of construction of the Life Technique Boulevard, we can see a lot of spaces that were constructed to promote the parapedagogical events, to people can do volunteer activities as well. And so after that, we also can count once more with the support of the conscienciological community with another extension in conscienciology and projectology course. This time, these funds were reverted to the constructor to a place to support the researcher, the Serenarium researcher activities. This place we call the Serenarium Support Center, and it was constructed in 2018. It is just for curiosity. It was in this year that I start my activities as a volunteer in Asinvax. It was in this year that I moved to Foz do Iguassu. And so after that, we reform and expand the dynamic hall as well to harbor more students, more volunteers, more people interested in study and study about Invaxology science. And so just to go the finish of the history, and in the last year we create the laboratories area in the Sinvexes, our area that harbor the Life Technique Boulevard Laboratory and also the laboratory Serenarium. And the experiments to the Life Technique Boulevard experience start also in the last year. And we also are seeing the same effect that we see with Serenarium in the very beginning, change the structure of the campus, helping to create the holotizine of vexology that we see with Serenarium. You also can see now happening the same thing with the Life Technique Boulevard Laboratory. We are real. So, Fabiana, you want to ask something?
Yes, we have an interesting question. I am sure you will talk about it, but it's interesting to perhaps to bring it on. It's about Regina. I was wondering if you could talk about the extra-physical preparation and building of the Serenarium, which you are talking about the building structure. I guess it was not the intraphysical structure that took some years to be built.
Yeah,
I think
this is
she's
really
referring to
interesting.
the parapsychic preparation, I'm guessing.
Yeah. This is really important topic that Regina brings to us, because when you are talking about conscienciological like structures, and I will put focus on laboratories, and sometimes we see like long time that until the really structure can brings up. So the conceptions obviously come first, but also after that, another people have to make contact with this idea, with the holotizine of this laboratory, and sometimes the constructor took a long time, because first the idea was in the extraphysical, if I can say this way, but takes time to people understand or make the download, the completely download, or at least the basic download to start to move and to construct this holotizine. And I think this preparation comes from the conscious energy, the conscious cognition about the holotizine or about the purpose of this lab. How much more people are interested in this topic or feel related with this main topic that the laboratory can bring, can provide in terms of experimentation, more I can step by step construct this structure. I think if you just construct the structure anyways, does not have the effect, because we're not talking about just physical structure, but a structure that the richest part, I think, is the extraphysical structure, the extraphysical paratechnologies, so the paratechnologies as well. And so, and because that it's important, more people involved in this project. And I think it was really important in this in the Serenarium Project Laboratory, if I can see in this way, we can count with two big events in conscienciology, as extension in conscienciology and projectiology free course. So a lot of people, hundreds of people who are involved to apply to this event in with the funds were reverted to money to construct this structure. And so this structure that you have in Vexology campus nowadays, it's not the Vexological campus is not the only, you see, it's the whole community, because it's a collective construction. And I think this is really important when you are thinking about laboratories, because we are thinking about self-experiences, self-experimentations. We are talking about applying our own discernment, our self discernment, our self criticism. And so this, for me, it's really, really important topic to highlight.
Could we talk about the group synergism as well? The interconnection?
Yeah. I will talk about later in the presentation, but I think it's good to bring these ideas now, because we have a lot of people involved in just one experiment, and we really have to work in a synergy, because we have a lot of details to take care. We have a lot of time, a lot of details. We have to pay attention in some details to provide that the environment of Serenarium can work as a reflection camera. So each detail matters in this way. And so you have to look to the intraphysical structure with consciousness or extraphysical consciousness look to that. And so this is a really big challenge, because if you are not if you do not pay attention in that, you just go like in automatic way doing stuff completely disconnected with the extraphysical team that coordinates these activities in the scenario. And so this is really important topic and to think when you are talking about the voluntary job or work in this scenario. But we'll talk a little bit more later deeply about this. I just bring here some current numbers. Until the end of the last month, March, we have a total of 116 experiments realized in this decades of experience. Around 80% of the team of volunteers is made of extension inverters. We also receive until now one person, one international research. So if you are seeing this presentation now and are interested to do Serenarium, we are able to receive you here. And we also have one research under 18 years realized the experiment as well. I just bring this last number because we are talking about index technique, and every number is about youth. It's really important to highlight as well. So, as I mentioned, it is a really important laboratory and complex, and Serenarium is a big, complex laboratory, as I mentioned. And so we have a lot of pre-requirements that we have to mention here that make the person or the researcher that are interested able to do this laboratory. So how we talking about a laboratory if we are in the big and deep immersion, we expect of the research a little bit more experience in the consensual paradigm. So it's necessary to be a research of conscientiology of at least 1 year. So we need that person, that the person interested to do the scenario, it's vinculated to a conscientiocentric institution as a volunteer, and also mention how long the person are in this situation. We bring this as like the topic one, because we are talking about self-heuristic, self-experimentation in a really deep way. So it's really important that the researcher have a little bit more experience with this paradigm, a little bit more researcher, to can really take advantage of this laboratory. So we also has a requirement to complete it at least one introductory course in conscientiology in any consensus-centric institution. So another prerequirements here about the application of the visual physical and mobility technique as well. It's a important requirement as well. So be more than 18 years old or emancipated. So it's another important requirement. And be fully possess physical and mental health, duly proven by medical certification delivered to us in VEX. This is also another important topic because the people are doing the laboratory during 7 days, 3 days of the immersion, but we had some activities, as I mentioned, before the immersion itself and after the immersion itself in the Serenarium. So because that, we asked a medical certificate to be provided to us, informant that the researcher really possess physical and mental health adequate to perform an experiment like that in isolation during these 7 years. So another list, another list of a lot of medical conditions that you have to pay attention that involve claustrophobia, epilepsy, heart disease, other disorders like anxiety as well. So a lot of physical conditions that it's very required that the researcher do not can have. We think we bring these pre-requirements here because we think in this condition the person or the researcher could not take an advantage of this experience in the laboratory scenario, and also can have like some problems, and you do not have that, you do not want that. And so we are really critical with these pre-requirements, just to the experimenter or the researcher can have the greatest experience that we can offer in the intraphysical context. So, how the Serenarium works. So, before to get started in the experimentation in the Serenarium Laboratory, we have to do a kind of a scheduling interview that occurs 35 days or 30 days before the experiment. So a person or a volunteer, the Serenarium Laboratory, will talk with the researcher about how the Serenarium works, some things that the researcher have to prepare before the experiment as well, and also the researcher have to choose all of the food that the experiment or the researcher will consume during the laboratory scenario, and also the days that the researcher will be located in the Serenarium Support Center as well. Here I can show to you how the experiment of the Serenarium experiment work during the 7 days. So we have pre-experiment days, the day 1 and 2, the Serenarium always beginning in a Wednesday and finishing in a Tuesday. So we have 2 weeks. In the period of the immersion occurs during the weekend, start in Friday and finish on Monday. Okay, and so let's come to the day one, the pre-experiment. So the researcher can arrive in the Serenarium Support Center 1 p.m. in our campus, and after that, at 3 p.m., this researcher goes to do the first experiment, the visual immobility experiment. So this is the activities that we have here in this one. This experiment is was thinking to do in the activities that we do before the entrance in the Serenarium Laboratory, just to the research start to make contact with your consciousness, to calm a little bit more the physical body, the thoughts, and go and start to be more calm and quiet, and start your reflections. And so it's the intention that we have this experiment here. And in the day 2, very early in the morning, at 7:30, we do the researcher do the Life Technique Boulevard Laboratory. That is specific activity in the campus of Infectiology Laboratory, in the campus, the Infectiology campus, sorry, because we have this laboratory just here in our campus. Is also the why that I mentioned and I explained this laboratory as well, because this laboratory now we are included in the pre-experiment activities of the Serenarium. And so in this moment, the researcher can, during the experiment in Life Technique Boulevard, experiment your own life and see your life during the experiment, and have new reflections, ways of views, and can understand deeper some context of your life. And so we can see that this laboratory have an incredible synergism with the Serenarium, and not only because some things that we expect about this laboratory, but also because we can experiment during this month synergisms in the extraphysical consciousness that help we in these laboratories activities in Serenarium and Life Technique Boulevard. We can see that it seems that extraphysical consciousness maybe work together in synergisms. So in the afternoon, in the day 2, in the Serenarium, the researcher also applied the self-experienceogram technique. It is a technique where the researcher can pick a fact or a parafact of your life and intend to go deeper and deeper in that experience, explore more associations. This technique was proposed to Professor Eliana Stedley from Arace, and in Arace Serenarium, there's applying this technique as well. So it's common nowadays that the researcher that have some different or intriguing experience during the Life Technique Boulevard Laboratory during the morning, bring that fact to go deeper and deeper in this self-experiential experiment technique. So we can see also this synergies happen as well. And in the night of the day too, 8 p.m. and a half, we have the pre-experiment have health interview. Is the moment that the research can talk about with the health team of the Serenarium Laboratory. We have an interview there about some holosomatic characteristics, and it's the last moment that the researcher have with the team before the 3-day immersion start in the next day. So, as I mentioned in the experiment starting on Friday, precisely on 8 a.m. And this time, the experimenter or the researcher goes to the laboratory to perform your experiment. And the end of Monday, also as at 8 a.m., the experiment finished, and then we bring the researcher to do a post-experiment health interview. This is the moment that the healthy team also do an interview with holosomatic questions and things that happen during this 3 days immersion. So during the Serenarium experiment. And then in this Monday, the researcher have the rest of the day free to do more reflections, to write, to think more about the experiences that occurred during the laboratory. And in the last day, on Tuesday, we made the checkout to the experiment. So I bring here some pictures and videos to make some kind of immersive journey on Serenarium. And here is the place that the research it will located. It's the Serenarium Support Center, was opened in 2018, as I mentioned here. So this is the building. Here we have some doors in this environment, in this building here. This is the experimenter or researcher flat, is the place that the researcher can stay during the day 1 and day 2 before the Serenarium immersion. And so here in this side, in this door, we have the laboratory's receptive, is the place where you can do the interviews, you can do the visual physics mobility experimentation, and also the place that we receive the research to give the very first explanations about the laboratory, the Life Technique Boulevard Laboratory as well. Fabiana, could you please show us the video to the people in YouTube can saw how is the place inside, please? Yes. The interviews and other establishments. Here we have little Life Technique Boulevard. Here is the place that we do the physical mobility experiments. So the researcher can do this in the really closed door. And when in this case of visual physical mobility experiments, they can use this blue light to indicate that our experiment going on in that moment. So here is just to bring another photographs about Life Technique Boulevard Laboratory that the research experiment in day 2 in this walking. And after that, in the day 3, the moment that we go to Serenarium Laboratory, we can we have to give in a walk or through the personal code cosmetical way. And I also would like to ask Fabiana to play the video just to make you people have the sensation to walk through this really beautiful and woody place. And this is the view that you can see when you are arriving in the Serenarium Laboratory. So this is a really calm and quiet place around trees and woods. And now we are ready to do your 72 hours of immersion, 72 hours of self-confrontation, 72 hours of download of self original ideas also. So this is the moment that is with you and the astrophysical team that coordinates the activities on the Serenarium Laboratory. Here I bring some picture that you can see how is the laboratory inside using a skin. Fortunately, I do not bring some photos just to make you curious to see how the Serenarium is inside when you may come here and come here to do your experiment. And so we can see two circle extruders here. The big one is the room, and when the researcher can also sleep, but also do the experimentations, work with the energies, and so have your parapsych experiences in this place. The other circular structure, it's split in 3 environments. One is the kitchen that the people can feed, another one the bathroom, and another one a kind of office where the researcher can doing also some experiments or also doing some annotations in a piece of paper. So in this place you have paper, pen, some conscienciological books written by Professor Valdo, and also the conscienciology encyclopedia as well to help the researcher to do your self-experimentation and your self-research during this period. So we're talking about a little bit of this in some part of the presentation that I mentioned that we have a lot of people involved in the Serenarium Laboratory, and people are involved before, during, or after each experiment, each Serenarium experiment. And so it's really interesting to think about that, because we are talking about experiment just for one research, just for one person, just for one consign, but we have a huge team work to this experiment can happen. So Fabiana, you want
Yes,
to
I'm just I just wanted to call the attention about the time. We have like between 5 to 10 minutes to conclude. You talked about so many important techniques and things, no? The campus, the technique, all the laboratories, so many important information. No? So just to reinforce that and to recall that.
Okay, thank you. So we have here around 70 and 80 people, volunteers involved in this experiment, people who coordinate the whole process of the experiment, people to do the scheduling, as I mentioned before, people to take care about the maintenance or keeping the laboratory, people who do the food management to the researcher, the health team, as I mentioned, the monitors of the Serenarium Laboratory, composed by 2 volunteers that will be with the researcher immersion. So, and this team can stay in the Serenarium Center together with the researcher. While the researcher is in the Serenarium, this team could be in this place to help you with the security and parasecurity of the experiment. We also have the monitors to help in the self-expressionogram technique and also to help in the life technique Boulevard Laboratory as well. So it's a really, really huge team. I just bring some photos of the research that made the Serenarium experiment at this last 5 years. Here, someone of this is like doing with the Alameda Church, just to doing some. Okay, and I just would like to bring some reflections about the effects of Serenarium Laboratory construction at Vexology campus, and talk about a little bit more the impact of this structure, not only in an introphysical way, but in the extraphysical impact of this laboratory. So this laboratory contributes to the initial campus urbanization, the beginning of the change of the holotosine from a farm, because the place before was a farm, to conscienciological campus. Also, it's an environment, or it's a lab that promotes the self-experimentation. So the beginning of the conscienciocentric activities of conscienciocentric institutions centered on the paradigm pillar of self-experimentation, the fixation of the holotosine of self-experimentology and heuristicology, making the explicit counterpoint of the past, our whole past, dogmatic, sectarian, and anti-cosmetical approach. So I think it's really important take this position. I think this is the very first time that we can do this, and we can think about our whole story. About the structuring, the constructor of another physical structure has residences, spaces to carry out the parapedagogical activities, and ego-parapsych activities, and also volunteer activities, as I mentioned, was performed before the establishment of the Serenarium, or to give laboratory Serenarium support. So I think this is a really important topic, because the laboratory requires a huge structure to work, and that mobilizes the whole environment of the campus, not only in a intraphysical way, but also in an energetic extraphysical way as well. I think another effect important is the interconnection, because with the support from RAC, setting up the laboratory and the experimentation routine, they give it to us all the acknowledgement about the Serenarium construction and conception and help during this period. We also have a mixed team of volunteers in the activities in the Serenarium Laboratory. So we have interactions of existential inverters and also existential recyclers. We also receive people from volunteers from the conscienciological cosmetic community, from all of conscienciocentric institutions. So we also connect with the other researchers, receiving them in Vexology campus. About the volunteering, the attention to detail, to power security, and the technology and carrying out basic and daily laboratory maintenance activities. I also mentioned there before the advanced reflections in concomitance of that. So we are doing routine activities, but also think about really advancing things, about evolution, about max prox. And so I think this is interesting paradox about Serenarium. The engagement of the team, how the team can have this behavior to help each other in each experiment, and this is really interesting. And also the helper posture that we have to help the other volunteers, but also to help the researcher to make your experiment as well. I think also the fixation of the holotosine through the repetition of experiments and the constant work of the team of volunteers helps to make the stable of the holotosine of the Vexology campus, or in each campus that the Serenarium are fixed. And about the interconscienciality, the routines that are initiated during the laboratory and explained in daily volunteers activity and fixated in Encyclopedia of Conscienciology verbets, entries, and syntax papers. I can see this during these 5 years that people make deep change after doing Serenarium experiments and write about that and publish entries and publish papers, disclosure these finds, and doing yourselves actualizations, if I can say in this way. And so, just to finish, the paratechnology of Serenarium Laboratory creates an environment for experimenter to get in touch with his own intraconsciential reality and para-procedure through a mental somatic field focused on capturing original ideas about himself and evolution, recovery of intermissive cons, and also access to hollow memory. And so it's all that I can bring about the Serenarium. I also would like to finish in the very last minute some invitations to some courses and some activities that we have invited. So if you're interested to know what is existential inversion, we have a course online at the end of this month, occurring in a weekend. So if you want more information, you can access here. We have through a laboratory forum that we have this activity in September of this year, and the idea is to bring experiments, researchers, people that do experiments in Serenarium, in Life Technique Laboratory, or in any consensuological laboratory to bring your experiences, reflections to the debate. And also the Invex Week that you have not only, but all May of July, and in this year the main topic it's about the chronoevolutionology. It's related to the Life Technique Boulevard Laboratory. So it's about this different laboratory that you have. And also in the end, the GreenVax Symposium, that's a kind of event that promotes to the existential universal research group. And in this event, these volunteers of these groups bring to us some research, some information about vexology as well. And this in this event is promoted to one essential investor group. And so just some phrases about Serenarium and about laboratories from Professor Valdo. Just bring here the idea that the Serenarium Laboratory aims to improve that the person already has good. The Serenarium is the mega consensogram. From an evolutionary point of view, the Serenarium is the most complete consensological laboratory. So I think the whole presentation is about that, to bring a little bit more information about this most complete consensological laboratory. And so thank you guys for your time and patience, because so I talked a lot more than I thought. And if you have some questions, need some information, so have some curiosity about this lab scenario and also a Life Technique Boulevard, just made contact with us. And thank you, Fabiana, and thank you, you are from Isaac.
Yes, Deborah, thank you. It was really a rewarding presentation, very detailed one of the most technical and important presentations from this point of view. You started presenting the pillars, the consensological paradigm. You talked about the Invexis technique. You talked about the campus. You talked about the Life Technique Boulevard, and then all the details about the Serenarium Laboratory, the prerequisites as well, and then the effects and all the details related to the construction, the history. It was a very complete and important presentation. I'm happy that it's recorded, so people will have the chance included to go back to specific sectors from the presentation and understand more. Even people perhaps who will want to come and visit, and do the laboratory, they will have that as a reference as well to go back and rewatch it again. So from Consensology and from Isaac, we want to say thank you very much. It was really a great presentation. We hope to see you soon back here with us. And if you would like to say a few words, reinforce any detail before we close, feel free.
I just would like to thank you to the invitation and also the patience because I talk too much. But yeah, it's a really important topic and a really complex laboratory. Not just the point of the intraphysical view, but extraphysical concept, and so I hope if people are interested in this lab, if you are very welcome to know the campus, to know the lab, So make contact. We are open arm to receive you.
Yes, and I can also give 1 second deposition. I did a few times this laboratory. It's a fantastic laboratory. It's like water division. No, it's your life before and your life after. That's why you brought so many informations in regards, and the team of people who are taking care. It's one self-researcher inside, but you have a huge team of people to take care of the security and the para-security, and really it promotes a huge effect from our essence and from our self-research point of view. So I also encourage you all to be part of that. Travel to Brazil and select these 7 days. No, these 3 inside and 7 days for yourself. It's a gift that I'm sure nobody will find anywhere else in the planet, unless in the Serenarium, inside the Serenarium Laboratory. So once again, thank you very much. It was a pleasure having you here. And thank you all we have a group of nice people from different conscientiocentric institutions, from ISIC, from Reaprendencia, from ACMVAXIS as well, and other people who are participating. Thank you all for being here with us. And we hope to see you in the next The Bridged Research presentation. See you there. Bye-bye.